Let Sharif ask the questions tonight. You take the tea. Further.
What is the proper etiquette of reciting the last 3 chapters of the Quran for protection?
Question says, what is the proper etiquette of reciting the last 3 surahs from the Quran for protection? We say that it depends on when you're reciting them. Reciting them when it's time for Salat al-Maghrib, reciting them before going to sleep, reciting them after the 5 daily salawat, etc. In general, it seems clear that the questioner is asking about before sleeping. The hadith about blowing and spitting into the palms of your hands, wiping your head, your face, and any part of your body, as is mentioned in the narrations. We say, Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, seek refuge in Allah from the shaitan, the accursed devil. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Recite Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas, and then do the light spitting into your hands, wiping the entire body. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. You do that a second time, you do that a third time. And bi-idhnillah, this is a sufficient manner of doing this. 1, 1, and 1. Instead of reciting surah 3 times like that. No. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ هذا شوط. هذا مرة. It's 1 time. It's 1 circuit. Second time, then a what? A third time. Hopefully that's clear. Bi-idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's, bi-idhnillah, hopefully that's the closest way of doing it. وَالْعِلْمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ.
Done in the last tashahhud generally or only done in the second tashahhud? And is it specific to men or women as well?
Questioner is about, I think this is from the other night. They're asking it again. A tawarruk. Perhaps they mean a tawarruk. When you're in the tashahhud, and do the different ways of sitting in the tashahhud. And one of those ways is when a person, first and foremost, the right leg is straightened, and the left leg goes beneath the right leg, and one's hip and one's buttocks is on the actual earth. The wirk, the hip, and everything is leaning and reclined on the what? On the ground. Everybody know this? Tawarruk. Is it done in the last rak'ah, so on and so forth? We say this isn't an issue over which the ulama agree. Some of them say that it's general. Others say it's only for a prayer that has more than 1 tashahhud. And some, they may take views against the tawarruk, not to do it at all. We say that which is closest, and Allah Ta'ala surely knows best, is that tawarruk is best to be made in a salah in which there are more than 1 tashahhud, and not just in the last rak'ah. Because Salat al-Fajr has 1 tashahhud. The first tashahhud is the last tashahhud in the last rak'ah as well. Rather, a salah such as Salat al-Maghrib, Salat al-Isha, Salat al-Dhuhr, Salat al-Asr, in which is more than 1 tashahhud, that's the safest, closest, and that's the most complete way of accepting the different narrations on the tawarruk. In a salah that has more than 1 tashahhud. And that tawarruk should be done in the last tashahhud of a salah that has what? More than 1, and not just the last tashahhud. Because Salat al-Fajr, the first tashahhud is the last tashahhud, and it's only 2 rak'ah. That's a summary of the issue, of which is long detail among the 4 traditional schools and those who came before and after them on when to make the tawarruk, if to make it at all. Wallahu ta'ala alam.
And is it specific to men or women?
As far as specific to men and women, then as we have explained in several classes, that a man or a woman is supposed to pray like a man. A woman is to pray like a man until there's specific, explicit dalil stating otherwise. As Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentioned in his Sahih regarding the thigh of a man. This has nothing to do with the question, but we're trying to make a point here. Okay? The thigh of a man. And he said, Hadithu Anasin asnad, wa Hadithu Jarhad ahwat. He says the Hadith of Anas is stronger. Its isnad is stronger. And the next Hadith is ahwat, is safer. Imam Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah, he explained this by saying that the hadith regarding one's thigh, a man's thigh being an awrah, he says there are two types. Either they are صحيحة غير صريحة أو صريحة غير صحيحة. فإن كلام البخاري الآن حديث الأول أصح والحديث الثاني أضعف وأحوط. عرفت كيف؟ أحوط. هذا تفسير يعني كلام الإمام البخاري. حديث أنس هو الصحيح الذي فيه كشف الفخذ وأن الفخذ ليست من الأورة. حديث آخر مجرد إيش؟ أيوة وإن لم يصح وإن لم يكن يصح لكنه فيه إيش؟ أحوط لأنه صريح في الدلالة لكن من حيث الصحة ليس كحديث إيش؟ أنس. عرفت كيف؟ هذا كلام معنى كلام الإمام البخاري. So he said, Shaykh ibn Taymiyyah, not Imam al-Bukhari, that when it comes to the awrah of a man being the fakhith, the thigh of a man, is your thigh awrah? Do you have to cover your thigh in front of someone who isn't your wife? Or is it permissible to be seen? He said there are two types of hadiths. Hadiths which are clear and direct that the thigh is what? Awrah. It cannot be exposed. You can't have on short shorts in front of your brother. Everybody understand this? Only in front of your wife or your young small children. Everybody clear on this? But they're not necessarily what? Authentic. And then there are hadiths that are authentic, but they're not what? Direct to the point. That the thigh is what? Awrah. Everybody understand this? So, when it comes to a woman making salah differently than a man, we need a hadith that has how many conditions? كم نحتاج كم ضابط كم شرط حتى نقول تختلف صلاة المرأة عن صلاة الرجل؟ شرطين. الأول الصحة والثاني الصراحة أن تكون صريحة في الدلالة لا بالعمومات لا بإيش؟ أما فهمت القاعدة؟ هذا مهم لطلبة العلم. إذا أردت أن تستدل بحديث ما على مسألة ما فلا بد وأن يتوفر لديك كم شرط؟ الأول أن يكون هذا الحديث قد ثبت وصح إما باجتهادك وببحثك إذا كنت أهلا لذلك وإما بأن لا تكتب وإما أن تقلد من هو أهل بأن يقلد من المحدثين. إذا كنت غير قادر على البحث والنظر فاتبع الباحثين والعلماء الذين قد صحوا أو ضعفوا الحديث. عرفت هذا أم لا؟ الشرط الثاني الضابط الثاني أن تكون استدلالك في محله لا بالعمومات وبالمطلقات. أن تكون استدلالا صحيحا علميا صريحا على ما تقول وما تدعي من حلال من حرام وأن هذا مبتدع وأن هذا إلى آخره. إذا أردت أن تستدل لابد من هذا الثبوت والدلالة لا بالعمومات. تنقل الشيء عن أصله بالعمومات هذا غير علمي. وما أكثر ما يقع من يعني للأسف من يعني يسمى اليوم بطالب العلم أو بالداعية أو بالعالم حتى للأسف الشديد يستدل بما لم يثبت وما لم يصح أو قد ثبت وقد صح لكن وجه الدلالة غير إيش؟ غير صريح عام مطلق وهو ينقل عن الأصل الذي قد ثبت بدلالة صحيحة وإيش؟ صريحة. فهمت هذا؟ إياك وهذا الخلط وهذا الغلط. إياك وهذا الشيء. هذا نصيحة لطلبة العلم. إياك أنك تخلط وتستدل استدلالات ما أنزل الله بها من سلطان. So the hadith that you're using or any proof that you're using in general but specifically talking about hadith, it has to be first and foremost authentic. And secondly, the point from the hadith has to be what? Clear, strong, direct to the point. So if you have a narration of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a woman's prayer is different than a man's prayer, she's to do this, she isn't to say this, she is not to do this, so on and so forth, that's first and foremost authentic. Either through your research, if you're qualified to do that, or through the research of someone else. I'm not qualified, I'm not a hadith researcher. Shaykh al-Albani said it's sahih, la bas. Ibn Hajar said it's sahih. If you're making taqleed of someone, you don't have the ability to find out, that's better than you trying to figure it out and you're not qualified. Everybody understand this? It's better for you to say Sahih al-Albani than coming and mixing and jumbling and throwing things into a pot, making a mess. Everybody understand this? It's very important. That's the first condition. And the second condition of the hadith about a woman praying differently than a man, tawarruk, spreading the elbows, tashahhud, adhan, anything. It has to be sarih, directly, frank, to the point. It can't be something that's vague, something that's extremely general, something that is inexplicit. It has to be what? Right to the point. Shut. Everybody understand this? And this is anything that you use in Islam, let alone someone's statement. Sheikh Fulan said this. Did Sheikh Fulan actually say that? And if he did say that, are you understanding it properly? Are you using it properly? Wahakadha. So if we don't have these things, then we say a woman is no different than a man with regards to tashahhud, tawarruk, spreading the arms, making ruku, sujood, etc. Because it is already established in the kitab and in the sunnah, the command to make the salah, the command to pray like the Prophet ﷺ, the command to do things in a prayer in which there is no difference between man, woman, and child. Rather, we have a hadith that tell us that women are no different than men. Everybody understand this? So if you have a madhab that states that a woman has a different way of making the ruku', لا بأس عليك بالدليل. ويشترط في هذا الدليل أن يكون إيش؟ صحيحا وصريحا. Everybody understand this? Not no general vague stuff. Let alone if it's a dalil that's difference of opinion on it anyway. What Aisha did, what Fulan said, what Ibn Mas'ud said. Do all the ulama agree on this? Qawl al-Sahabi, Hujjah. Everybody understand this? So therefore the opinion and the view that we feel is most correct is that a woman is to pray just like a man in every sense until there is a specific and authentic hadith from Muhammad, not the companion, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. And until we have that, yabqa al-asl. Other ulama, other students, these people, so on and so forth, their views, that's fine. It's the opinion that we feel to be most correct. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best.
Can a brother get married even if his father is totally against it due to age, education, family name, and the mother is for it but doesn't want clashes with the father? The brother believes she is righteous, inshallah, and they are both trying to be students of knowledge and both are fallen into all.
The question says, can a brother get married? He's of age, correct? The father says no. The mother says yes. He's striving to be righteous, to be a talib al-ilm, etc. I would say, I have not come across an ayah in the Quran, nor an authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, nor any consensus, ijma', that a man needs the permission of his father to get married. Or rather, that which is in the kitab, the sunnah, and ijma' is permission and consent of a what? Of a woman, a girl. Everybody understand this? I've never read, Allah Alam, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I said what? I didn't read it. I haven't heard it. That a man has to have, a young man needs the permission of his father. Everybody understand this? So that's first and foremost. Secondly is, obviously, having the father and the mother both pleased. Okay, obeying the father and that which is ma'ruf, and that which is good. That's matlub, hada matlub. Okay? Keeping the Muslims away from fighting, from arguing, from bickering. It's a good thing. The Prophet ﷺ, he forbade us from doing these things. From cutting each other, undercutting each other, and buying and selling. Not to make, seek a woman's hand in marriage that your brother has already sought. Allah tells in the Quran, do not fight, do not argue. Many verses, many ahadith about the impermissibility of fighting and arguing and causing strife among the Muslims. There's no doubt about that. That the believers are brothers. And this is to be avoided. But once again, this is what? This is general. And the specific ruling is what? It's specific. So it's not a shart, it's not a condition that he has to get his father's permission. However, he isn't to be reckless as well. Especially if he's living with his father. Especially if his father is providing for him. If he's independent, then the issue what? تختلف الصورة تماما اختلاف. But he's in the house of the father. That's what? It's a huge problem. Oh yeah, you know I got married last night, Abby. He's going to drop his bowl of cornflakes on the floor. What? Everybody understand this? That's a problem. It's not the same as him having his own apartment, his own house, his own work, his own car. He's responsible. It's a difference. So avoid recklessness. That's first and foremost. Avoid what? Recklessness. Avoid making problems. Try to speak to your father. Convince him. Make dua for him. Get someone to talk to him and to show him that it's a good situation for you. If he refuses and he says that education comes before marriage, right? He says you can't marry her because she's from a different race. She's from a different culture. You're Egyptian. She's from Yemen, for example. Right? And things like this. And he has no shar'i reason behind telling you that you can't get married. You don't have to what? You don't have to obey him. You don't have to do what? You don't have to obey him. But it all depends and it all differs. So if your father refuses to see, if he refuses to believe and to accept what is clear, that's what, make dua for him. Make what? Make dua for him. And your mother as well, she has to be strong. It's impermissible for her to keep silent upon that which is clearly harmful, upon that which is haram, upon that which is destructive. And for her to just go with the flow. I don't want to fight with no. La. If our son, his girlfriend, he gets pregnant, he gets an STD, he loses his Islam, he does this, he goes to college, then what? Everybody understand this? She can't just obey her husband and keep the peace with her husband upon that which is batil. Do not help each other upon sin and transgression. Everybody understand this? So the father, you should be spoken to with respect, with humbleness. And most of the time, and Allah knows best, if the son is responsible, if the son is practicing Islam, if the son is striving, in most cases the father is not going to necessarily totally refuse. But oftentimes there's something wrong with the son. You're really not responsible. You think they're responsible, but you're not. You're really not mature. You think that you want to get married, you think you want a woman in your life, but deep down inside, what? You don't. So you need to make sure that you have the best akhlaq, the best character, that you're practicing the deen correctly, that you're respecting your parents, that you clean your room and you take care of yourself, and you're a good Muslim role model, which will minimize and limit the refusal of the what? Of the father. And the same applies to the girl. You may think she's a good girl, but how much do you know about her family? Where's she from? Who's she with? Kada. You don't know these things. So this is my nasiha with regards to the situation. Worst come to worst. It's a good situation. It's a good righteous girl. The son is responsible. He's righteous. But his father just says no because of education or something like that. Then you do not have to what? Obey him. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Rather the mother's haqq comes before the father's haqq. If you want to get deep. Pleasing the mother comes first. Wallahu alam.
Question here says, using a weak hadith regarding tarhib or targhib, why do some scholars allow it to be used if an action is based on something weak?
Question says, with regards to a da'if hadith on issues of targhib and tarhib, why do some scholars use the weak hadith if it's already based on something else? A very important question. And like many other questions and issues, there's a great deal of confusion on the topic. We have those who speak on the topic that are knowledgeable and learned, and those who are totally ignorant. Those who have been properly trained, those who have no proper training, those who follow their desires, and those who try to follow what the people of knowledge say, that is clearly extracted and deduced from the kitab and from the sunnah. So therefore we say in brief, there are two main views with regards to a hadith that's da'if. When it comes to fadail al-amal, targhib and tarhib, virtuous actions, he who makes this salah, he who makes tasbih, he who visits a sick person, he who feeds a person, he who feeds an animal, he who makes istighfar, he who sits in the masjid after salat al-fajr, so on and so on and so forth. Fadail al-amal, virtuous deeds. The virtue of hajj, the virtue of umrah, naam. The virtue of martyrdom, fi sabilillah, dying in Allah's cause, naam. Fadail al-amal, virtuous deeds. At-targhib, things that inspire you, things that drive you. And at-tarhib, things that what? Intimidate you, strike fear in your heart. Things that talk about the punishment of not making fajr in congregation, the punishment of not making hajj with the money, the punishment of cowering in jihad fi sabilillah, the punishment, the threat, the torture that would take place in the grave for those who backbite, for women who do not breastfeed their children, etc. Not halal and not the what? Haram. Everybody understand this? We said three things: fadail al-amal, targhib, and tarhib. And we understand what all three of those terms mean based off what we just explained. Well, they have it, inshallah. And tabi'u. طيب فضائل الأعمال ترغيب ترهيب. Clear, brother Khan? Clear on this? Crystal? Crystal or just clear? Medium. طيب, once again, the first concept is using a hadith that is not sahih for the halal, for the haram, for aqidah. No. Only for concepts of virtuous deeds, virtuous things to do, good things to do. Anyone who feeds his neighbor for 40 days will go to Jannah, for example. He who is on the front row of the Jama'ah for 40 days will be kada wa kada. He who makes Hajj and Umrah back to back will kada wa kada. He who feeds a horse and keeps the horse for the cause of Allah, kada wa kada. Virtuous what? Deeds, not mandatory actions. Not halal, not haram, but what? Virtuous deeds, good things to do. Things that inspire you. Hadith that tells you he who says subhanallah 100 times will have his sins forgiven. It inspires you to do what? To make what? Tasbih. And then tarheeb, things that inhibit you and intimidate you from doing things that are haram. Clearly proven to be haram, but they give you further fear. They cause you to have what? Further fear. He who backbites will have this punishment on the day of judgment. He who makes namima will be tortured in his grave. He who does this will have, Allah will not look at him on the day of judgment. Clear on this now? Crystal? Is it permissible to use a hadith as da'if on these issues? Some of the ulama, they say yes, it's permissible with conditions. The first condition is that the hadith cannot be extremely weak. Allah yashtadda da'fuhu. It can't be extremely weak. It can't be something that's mawdu', munkar, matruk, something that's just totally feeble. But it has to be something that's what? Slightly weak. There's a narrator in the chain of this hadith, Sayyul Hifz, Saduqun lahu aham, Saduqun yukhti, يكون ضعف يسير, انقطاع يسير, يكون مرسلا. For example, that the weakness is what? Slight. And obviously that's going to take you to about hadith science, mustalah. ماذا حفظت في المصطلح ماذا فهمت في المصطلح ماذا درست في المصطلح. That's the first condition. Number two is they say that the hadith must be included in some other type of generality, that there are other verses, or there are verses in the Quran and there are hadiths that talk about the virtue of doing what? Tasbih. The virtues of what? Tasbih. The virtues of visiting your neighbor, the virtues of feeding a Muslim. And this da'if hadith gives you a bit more. Or whether it gives you a bit more or not, but it's the exact same topic that's in the what? Authentic hadiths. Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this? Last but not least, they say that you cannot believe that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said it. You're not to believe and to decisively say, قال رسول الله كما جاء في الحديث كما يروى في الحديث كما جاء في بعض الروايات كما جاء في بعض الآثار كما جاء عن الصحابي جل كذا كما روي كذا وروي فيه أحاديث كذا. ولا يقول قال رسول الله فعل رسول الله. لا يقول كما في الحديث الصحيح. لا 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 لا. وإنما يحكي حكاية. فهمنا هذا؟ إنما إيش؟ يحكي إيش؟ حكاية. جاء في الحديث وفي بعض الآثار. انتبهوا للفرق. جاء في إيش؟ بعض الآثار. هكذا. They say that a person is not to say that the Messenger of Allah said it. How about clear on this? Another ulama, that's the first view. Other ulama, they say rather it is not to be used at all. And that is because the Messenger of Allah warned us from saying things about him that we aren't sure of. He warned us from going towards that which we have no knowledge of. The Messenger of Allah warned us from lying against him, intentionally or unintentionally. Secondly, they say if there are hadith, and this is the specific question, if there are authentic hadith on the topic, why do we need to mention it? If we have authentic hadith on tasbih, what's the fa'idah of it? Last but not least, they say, what is the purpose of saying that the Messenger of Allah didn't say it, not believing that he said it and mentioning it? And when the khatib says it on the minbar, even if the khatib says, وَفِي الْحَدِيثِ الضَّيْفِ يَخْرُجُ النَّاسُ وَيَقُولُ إيش في الحديث الصحيح قال رسول الله. Most of the general people are not going to differentiate between what? يروى قيل وقال يحكي حكاية. شو هذا الكلام؟ عرفت كيف? So they say that you're going to end up doing and going against those three prerequisites. Everybody understand this? So these are the two main views of the ulama. Obviously, both views have their ups and their downs, their pros and their cons. There are many ulama who did both. Some were on this side, and others were on what? On that side. I'll leave you with this. Those people who read the books of hadith, the 6 mother books, the Muwatta Malik, the Musnad bin Ahmed, he's going to find a hadith in abundance that would be called what? Da'if. How did Imam Ahmed mention these hadith that are da'if? How did Imam Malik mention hadith that are what? Da'if. How did Tirmidhi mention hadith that are what? Da'if, etc. We say it proves is that there's a difference between using them and mentioning them. And there was also a difference to who they were speaking to. Did Tirmidhi write this book for the layman Muslim? Or did he write it for a master of hadith? Did he write it for a student of hadith or someone that doesn't know alif ba ta? Not saying that the layman Muslim can't benefit from this book, but we're talking about who was the initial audience. Who was the what? The initial audience. Everybody understand this? So the ulama, there's no doubt about that. They mentioned weak hadith. They used them. But in 2016, to the general mass, is it advisable? It is a good thing. Everybody understand this? And most importantly, if we have something that's authentic, what is the purpose of what? Everybody clear on this? So that's one way of looking at it. We've explained this in our sharh of Fadl al-Ilm al-Salaf al-Ilm al-Khalaf of Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali rahimahullah ta'ala. And all three sides, those who are extreme, no da'if hadith, period. Those who are extreme on this side, it's no problem with da'if hadith, it's alright. And those who are what? In the middle. It depends on what hadith it is. It depends on who you're speaking to. And it depends on how you quote the hadith. Everybody understand this? There has to be what? Detail. And if you don't have that detail, then you're going to attack the scholars of hadith, let alone Ibn Rajab, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim. Because when you read their books, you're going to find in abundance what? Da'if hadith. So how can Ibn Rajab use da'if hadith to prove something? Khatib al-Baghdadi, flan. And I learned and I read the book of the ulama today, no da'if hadith. There's the Sahih al-Tirmidhi and the Da'if al-Tirmidhi. Sahih al-Muwatta, Da'if al-Muwatta. Something's wrong. Either there's detail or we find there's going to be a bridge between these ulama and the ulama who did what? Came later on. There's a difference in their what? Their thought process. And if you don't take this detail, then you're going to attack those great ulama. Ibn Taymiyyah, his book is full of Da'if hadith. Ibn Qayyim, in English. We're not talking about in English. How many books did Ibn Rajab were translated in English? How many did we see at the table that day? Everybody understand this? So there has to be what? Detail. There has to be detail. Some da'if hadith are clearly bogus. And some are clearly what? Supported by the authentic text. Some people can take detail, others what? Can't take detail. A book is different than a khutbah. A khutbah is different than a class. How can that? There has to be a tailor-made thobe. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Hopefully that's clear. Fadal, Sheikh Rashid.
With regards to reading or performing ruqya on somebody who has a jinn, what are the qualifications of the person who does it? And do you have any advice for some people who shouldn't do it because they don't meet those qualifications?
With regards to reading, making ruqya on someone that has a jinn, so on and so forth, what advice would you give? Someone who's unqualified, etc. First and foremost, the ulama, they say that the raqi, he has to be Muslim and he must have a correct and sound aqidah. He has to have tawheed and iman, strong tawakkul. And he must be righteous, he must be pious. Everybody understand this? And he must be learned of what he's reciting and reading. He must be learned of the rulings of ruqya. Whether it's with the Quran, if he's a hafiz or not, whatever he's reading, he has to be able to read it properly. And he must know the do's and the don'ts. Is it permissible to choke somebody, to kick somebody, to beat somebody with a stick? Or is it impermissible? Is it permissible for him to make ruqya on a woman? It's just him and her. Wallahi, we've seen this. I said, I'll tie you down. Huh? Didn't make the ruqya, huh? Everybody understand this? He has to have the basics of the ruqya, the qira'ah, the adhkar, the Quran, the tajweed, and also the fiqh, the ahkam of ma yajuz wa ma la yajuz. Everybody understand this? And he needs to have good akhlaq. And he needs to believe that the ruqya is nothing more than a sabab. But Allah is the one who gives the cure, who gives the shifa. And he is nothing but a what? A conduit, a transmitter of what Allah is going to allow to take place. These are the shurut that must be in a what? The raqi. And not just someone who's learned the Quran. Not just someone who's supposedly a hafiz of the Quran. Not just someone who has good tajweed and good qira'ah of the Quran. No. Not just someone who knows the adhkar, what the Prophet ﷺ said when he read upon himself, when he read upon others, when Jibreel came. No. But he's someone who's pious and righteous. He must be what? Pious and righteous. And he cannot be making a sin that's open in public in front of the people. لا يصلح أن يكون راقيا. Now he can make ruqya on himself, his family, but for him to be a professional raqi, a 9-to-5 raqi, here's my card, kada wa kada. That's a what? That's a different story. Because you're playing with all types of things now. First of all, you're playing with someone's life, someone's soul. You're playing with the shaitan, you're playing with the jinn. You're playing with jinn that are Muslim, non-Muslim. The jinn could come out of them and get into you. Everybody understand this? So these are from the most important adab of the raqi and some of the most important ahkam of the raqi. And that the person is supposed to have a strong shakhsiyah, qawiyah, a strong personality. And all of these things, by the permission of Allah, have an effect on getting the evil jinn out of the body. They all have a what? They have an effect. The ilm, the tawakkul, the taqwa. Because the jinn, they're from the unseen. They may see things that the human beings don't see. They may expose the raqi, which we've seen before. They may talk about him. What you doing last night? What's in your phone? What's kada? What's kada? Everybody understand this? The jinn may be lying, but he may bluff the qari. He may bluff the raqi. And if the raqi does have sins and he does have things that he's hiding, he's like, oh, wait a second. Everybody understand this? Once he stutters like that, he doesn't have that strong, decisive spirit, the ruqya is what? It's no good. Everybody clear on this? Everybody understand this? Or the raqi, or the jinni could lie to the raqi. He could say something, he could throw doubts at him, or he could try to possess him. So it's not just about knowledge and qira'ah, but it's about what? Spiritual strength, quwwah, confidence in Allah's promise, trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's why some of the ulama of the past, when they would recite, they would tell the jinn, they would threaten him and say, come out of that body and come to me. If you're really strong, if you're really built like that, you want some problems? Tfaddal. Come with me. And I guarantee I'll kill you with the Quran. I'll burn you, I'll strangle you with the Quran. Everybody understand this? So it's not just based off of knowledge. So these are the most important rulings and adab of a what? Of a raqi. He who does not have these qualifications should avoid doing it, period. Somebody has to do it, that doesn't mean it has to be you. Send them to someone else. Just like people travel for medicine, people travel to doctors, people travel to this and to that, they can do the same with what? With the ruqyah. So if there's a well-known raqi who is qualified, who is strong in another city, in another borough, another state, what stops you from traveling towards him? So you don't have to throw yourself into what? The harm's way. If you're not strong. If you're not what? Strong. And obviously, ruqyah is on different levels. The jinn are of different levels. There's some jinn that are evil. وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ. There's some jinn, shaitan and married. It's mutamarrid, yani. He's a vicious jinn. And there's some jinn that are so bad. Some jinn are Muslim, others are kuffar. Some jinn are upon sunnah, some upon bid'ah. Some jinn play pranks. Young delinquents, young juvenile youth, you have that in the jinn as well. They just play games. And you tell the jinn, you speak to the jinn, ittaqillah, this is haram, you can't do this. He might leave. That's not the same as someone that's a full-blown what? Everybody understand this? So there's levels. A junior qari, a junior raqi, he may be able to tackle, he can tackle that. But this jinn here that's been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 7 years. A jinn, a male jinn who's in a female woman's body and he loves her. And he fondles her, molests her at night. Or the opposite. A female jinn with a man. Every morning he wakes up, makes ghusl, every single morning. Huh? A jinn that's infatuated with this human being, that may take a what, Yusuf? A master raqi. Someone who has knowledge, experience, wisdom, just no different than a what? A doctor. We have a normal physician, then we have a istishari, consultant, a master head surgeon. Everybody understand this? هذا هو والله تعالى أعلم.
Can you give me some advice on memorizing hadith? I find it much harder than memorizing Quran. May Allah bless you.
As far as advice with regards to memorizing hadith, and a person finds it more difficult than the Quran, there's nothing wrong with that. The Quran is something that is divinely facilitated. Allah said that He made it easy. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ. We, Allah says, يَسَّرْنَا. We have made the Quran easy to be remembered. So there's nothing like the Quran. And everything about the Quran is miraculous. How it was sent down. Upon whom it was sent down. Those who memorized it, those who passed it on. How so many millions of people all walk around with a book in their hearts. He's from Indonesia, he's from Malaysia, he's from Nigeria, he's from Mexico, this person's from that country, and they've all memorized the Quran by heart. That's amazing. He doesn't know a lick of Arabic, but he knows the Quran what? By heart. It's preserved. So that in itself is something that is mu'jiz. That in itself is amazing. So know for sure that there's nothing what? Like the Quran. And that it's much more than just your memorization, your efforts. But it's something that's divine as well. Allah is facilitating it for it to remain in your what? In your heart. Let alone the abundance of those who read and recite the same exact thing. Everybody doesn't recite hadith and read hadith. Everyone doesn't know about hadith. Everybody doesn't believe in hadith. But no matter where you go, you're all going to hear the same word? Quran. So it being upon the ear, familiar to the ear, close to the ear is not like what? Anything else. So know that for sure. That's first and foremost. Secondly is make dua to Allah to make it easy for you to memorize. Ask Allah for the necessary courage, for the necessary strong spirit that you need to be a memorizer of hadith. Thirdly is that I would advise you to listen to the hadith before you memorize them. Listen to them. Walillah, if you go online, if you go on YouTube, there are many books that they've put into audiobooks. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Jami' Tirmidhi, Sunan Abi Dawood, Muwatta Malik, Musnad Ahmed. Many of these books, they're available. And if you can't find them online, then travel to where you can hear them being read. Everybody clear on this? Walillah alhamd. That's first and foremost. Secondly is, take the small basic hadiths first. Don't pick up the big books, the heavy books, with the asanid. Have you memorized 40 hadith of Nawawi? How many times have you repeated the hadith? How many times have you written them down? Or have you studied them with your friends? You 4 brothers. You memorize by yourself, you memorize by yourself, you memorize by yourself, and you memorize by yourself. You have a sheikh, he has a sheikh. Rather, you guys, when you have lunch, you have fun, you talk about this, get together, and you have a study circle in which you read the hadith together one time. Now, back to you, Umar. Close the hadith. Now you read it. You make a mistake, go to the next one. You make a mistake, go back to the beginning of the hadith. You have to have a study circle. When you're with someone, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, it's easier. It's simpler for you to memorize and for you to keep the knowledge. How about doing this? Last but not least, my advice to you is to teach people those hadith. If you want the knowledge to stick into your head, then you should teach that knowledge. Me personally, I feel very adamant about this. When you teach others, when it keeps coming up, when the same question comes up, when you teach the same class over and over again, the knowledge becomes a part of you. So pass on a hadith, and also from the barakah of zakat. Where zakat in Arabic language doesn't just mean increase, but also means barakah. It means tuhur, purification. So when you pay zakat on your wealth becomes what? It grows. Allah gives you more. And the same applies to knowledge. So how many people have you taught 40 hadith? You teach your mother, your sister, your brother, a non-Muslim. Tell them I want to show you something what Muslims do. We memorize things. I guarantee that the kafir, the non-Muslim, as long as he's a balanced, not evil kafir, I understand this. Someone has some type of general respect for Muslims. They're going to be amazed at the fact that you memorize the book. Wow, you memorize the entire book? You can speak another language? Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this? There's no doubt about that. Because in their language or in their religion, let alone Western culture, memory is secondary. Memory is what? It's secondary. And for someone to be called a scholar is nothing like the conditions of a scholar in Islam. A scholar in the West is someone that specializes in the field, who's read books, who knows some information. He speaks a few Latin words, terms, that's it. You memorize Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, this, that, all by heart. Wallah, they'll be amazed. So the concept of passing on knowledge to others, sharing it with others, teaching it to others, Allah will give you the barakah. And hopefully, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, it will stay and stick in your heart. Most importantly, you have to do constant repetition. Constant repetition, constant what? Repetition. Wallahu ta'ala alam. Tfadal.
Now, with regards to marriage, if a woman had sexual relations before marriage and somebody comes to marry her and asks, is she a virgin? Is it upon the wali to say that she has sexual relations outside of marriage, or can he just say she's never been married before?
If the man asks explicitly, is she a virgin or not, then he is to tell the truth. And he is to be open and to be direct. It's nothing shameful. It doesn't have to be nothing shameful. If she made zina, she made tawbah, alhamdulillah. If she was married and divorced, alhamdulillah. If she was raped or molested, that wasn't her problem. So it's not necessarily something that's shameful. If she isn't a virgin, and the man specifically says, Ahiya bikra, then he says what? La. Hiya tayyib. He has to be frank and direct, just like that. And if he says she's never been married before, then that's misleading. That's what? That's misleading. And the Messenger of Allah told us in the authentic hadith, "Man ghashana falaysa minna." He who cheats us, it's not from us. So therefore, he should be open and he should be direct. As far as if another person is around, or if he doesn't necessarily want people to know that she isn't a virgin, something they feel ashamed of or embarrassed, and he says she's never been married before. What do you mean? Is she a virgin? He says what? She's never been married before. And he understands it, it's a different story. But if he doesn't understand, if he specifically wants to know, then that's also what? Another story. Wallahu a'lam. Any more questions before we stop? Fadal Adam. Marhaba
What
bik.
is the difference between the ayyim and the tayyib? Is there a difference in like the wording is different, but is there a specific difference between the meaning exactly?
الفرق بين الأيم والثيب is as if it is and as if it isn't. At the end of the day, both of them aren't what? Bikr. Both of them aren't what? Bikr. Some may say widow, divorced. That's how she lost her virginity. بسبب شرعي. And others they may say مطلقا غير بكر. مدخول بها على أي حال وعلى أي وجه. فهمت هذا? They say that the thayyib and the ayyim are what? Synonymous. And others may say that is a what? فوارق. Clearness. Al-Muhim, at the end of the day, ثمرة الخلاف is that she's what? غير بكر. فهمت هذا؟ والله أعلم.
Is there a time on the rawatib prayers? Is there a time limit on the rawatib prayers after the obligatory, such as the 2 rak'ah after Isha? Or can it be prayed until the next salah comes in?
We say that the rawatib should be made after the fard. The rawatib should be made after the fard for several reasons. First and foremost is that that's the asl. بعد الإشاء قبل الظهر. Even though linguistically that applies as well. But when you understand afterwards, the first thing you're thinking about is what? It's right afterwards. Also, the hikmah of the prayers being attached to the salawat al-khams. If something is attached, then it should be what? Close by. Thirdly, if it's delayed, if it's a large lapse of time, person may forget, person may be preoccupied, may be busy, something may happen which prevents you from what? From doing it. So therefore, there shouldn't be a large period of time. However, for argument's sake, I made, let's say, Salat al-Maghrib, and I did make the 2 rak'ah until all the way at the end of Maghrib time before the adhan of Isha. It's in the waqt. It's still time of Maghrib. But that isn't proper. That isn't what? That isn't proper. That's in brief. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا محمد جزاكم الله خيرا.